Now, I have been crushing heavily on this watch for nearly a year, and thankfully the brand got in touch and offered me one for review, and let me tell you, I am not disappointed. Now, these are made in Japan watches, and obviously there's quite a few brands that are, made in Japan. Obviously, you've got Casio, makes some made in Japan watches, you've got the likes of Seiko, they make some made in Japan watches, but a lot of the big brands don't create all of their watches in Japan. A lot of them create watches in Malaysia, sometimes Korea, but this brand, exclusively Japanese made, they're assembled by the actual brand's watchmaker in Kyoto, and of course that means as well Japanese movements inside of here. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. We're so close, I can almost touch it. Please do me a big favor, hit the subscribe button. It would genuinely make my day. So this is the Kuoe Sombrero. So people who have been watching the channel frequently, you'll know that I have been talking about this watch a hell of a lot. Since its release, I've probably mentioned this watch 5 to 6 times on the channel, something like that. Kuoe saw the fact that I was talking about this watch, that I was so in love with it, and thankfully offered to send one over to the channel for me to review. I do get to keep this watch, and thank goodness, because this is going straight in my personal collection. But of course, as always, brands don't get to tell me what to say. They get no editorial review or anything like that, and there will be a dedicated floor section towards the end of the video. Now, the name, Kuoe Sombrero. You might think that it's named after the hat, the Mexican hat, the one with the weird flicks and made of straw, that sort of thing. It's actually not. It's named after the Sombrero Galaxy, which is extra confusing, because I think if this was inspired by the hat, that would make a lot of sense. In terms of the design, there's a link there, but the Sombrero Galaxy is a bit of a stretch. Regardless of the marketing spiel, this watch is beautiful. So if you didn't know, Kuoe makes very elegant watches, mostly dress watches. And this is the first time I think that Kuoe have made a proper sort of tactical watch. This is Kuoe's take on a diver. And Kuoe, of course, couldn't be boring. They're not just going to make a regular tool diver. Instead, Kuoe have made a compressor style watch. Now the difference is there's no external bezel on a compressor style watch. Instead, the bezel is actually under the crystal, and you use the second crown to operate the bezel. I mean, first of all, the bezel action, super smooth. Yeah, feels premium. But one thing I like is that the bezel actually disengages once you push in that crown. So when you screw down the crown, you can lock that bezel into the place where you last left it. Now this watch is top spec. I mean, Kuoe have included everything on this watch. You've got a beautiful bubble sapphire, it's got very dramatic edges. Clarity is exceptional, they've used some anti-reflective treatment on this one. Full solid steel construction throughout, including the end links, milled clasp, that sort of thing. Lume is fantastic, which I'll show you shortly, you'll be very impressed with that. And of course, it's a diver, so 200 meters water resistance. Solid end links, as mentioned, they fit the case really nicely. And then we have a beautiful 3-link bracelet. Now this is sort of presidential in style. You've got that sort of dramatic mid-link, with the outer links being a lot thinner. However, where a presidential features quite dramatic curves on the bracelet, this one is a lot flatter. Bracelet tapers from 20mm down to 18mm, and this watch features quite a chunky clasp. Now that's because it does feature an on-the-fly adjustment system, so you can change the fit on the go. Completely milled all over, does feel extremely solid. Now, if you didn't know, Kuoe makes quite petite watches, right? They make watches on the smaller side. Case diameter comes in at 38mm, lug to lug comes in at 45.5mm, and case thickness is 12.7mm. Now you do get quite a lot of wrist presence with this one because the watch is mostly dial. I can appreciate how this might be a little bit too small for some people, don't get me wrong, but for an average size or smaller size wrist, I think this one is going to wear an absolute dream. Now of course, made in Japan watches, we're getting a Japanese movement inside of here. Kuoe opted for the Miyota 9039 inside of this one. And one thing I've noticed about this watch in particular is that you don't hear a lot of rotor noise, which you often can with a Miyota 9000, but because there's quite a lot of steel on this watch, I think it's absorbing that rotor noise really well. But let's talk about the best part of this watch. Sure, it's got a beautiful crystal, the finishing's good, it's got great dimensions, but it's the dial design. Just look at this dial. The absolute definition of perfect symmetry. 12, 3, 6, and 9 applied, beautiful applied indexes, faux patina, a gorgeous handset that stands out effortlessly. I was also very surprised to see all of the brushed elements on the dial, because as mentioned, Kuoe mostly makes dress watches, so those brushed elements aren't really in line with what they usually do, but absolutely more than welcome. I think it works with this style of watch so well. Now the dial finish here is a little bit weird. You see, it has a linen effect to it, like old school watches, but this one in particular also has quite a glossy, almost metallic finish to it, so you've really got to play with the watch in the light to be able to see that linen effect. Now that's no bad thing, by the way, because it means that the dial is super dynamic. However, I would have liked to have seen that linen a little bit more prominent. And yeah, let's talk about lume. So this watch features faux patina, which usually usually means that the loom experience takes a little bit of a hit. However, the loom on this watch is magnificent. Genuinely, some of the best loom that I've checked out this year. I was worried about the faux patina ruining the loom. Turns out that's not a problem at all. Brilliant. Now, there's loads of color options when it comes to the sombrero. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of the color options that Kuoe offers, so I wish you good luck choosing the one that you like the most. Now, you also get a choice of bracelet. Of course, this one's on the 3-link. They also offer a Jubilee style bracelet. This one does feature the much more rounded links, and it also features polished center links. So if you want a bracelet that's a little bit dressier, I think you go for the Jubilee. If you want one that's a little bit more tool-tastic, then I think you go for the 3-link flat bracelet. Flaws, right, let's talk about flaws, and let me tell you, it was hard even picking a couple on this one. So the vertical brush to the case sides, it's a little bit inconsistent. That's not really Kuoe's fault. Vertical brushes are very, very hard to pull off. It's a very risky thing to do, and I commend them for trying to do it, but as always, a vertical brush just doesn't look as consistent as a horizontal brush. Now, considering this is using the Miyota 9039, it's quite chunky. 12.7mm is one of the thickest 9000 series watches that I've ever reviewed. Now, of course, there's more technology going on under the dial with that inner bezel, so I can understand that, of course, it's a little bit thicker than your usual 10mm that you see with other watches, but nearly 13mm is on the chunkier side for this movement used. But I think the biggest hurdle, genuinely the biggest flaw for most people, will probably be the price. This watch ain't dirt cheap, you know, you're paying for the quality here, and Kuoe has delivered that. So this watch comes in US dollars, $945. In terms of pounds, for us Brits, you're looking at $795. It is also worth remembering you do get the second supplied leather strap with this watch that is incredible quality. Now, I believe the price that you see on the Kuoe website is the final price that you pay. I believe that Kuoe pays all of the taxes, all of the import duties, all of the tariffs, that sort of thing to get the watch to you. So if you do factor in that the final price on the website is the final price you pay, I do think that's a pretty competitive price. I do. Listen, you'll 100% find better value for money out there. There's no doubt about it. Probably not made in Japan, so that's one thing that you've got to factor in. But the main thing, are they as good looking as this? If the answer is yes for you, go and buy those watches. That's fine, no problem. If, like me, you think that this watch is unbelievably beautiful, then surely that's something worth paying for. Now, you can get a discount code on the Kuoe website. It takes 5% off, and it also says that you get an extra free leather watch pouch, so definitely use that if you're going to buy one. But if you can, go and get hands-on with Kuoe watches. Visit their store in Kyoto if you've got the chance. Keep an eye out for some watch shows. I know they've done a couple. Go and get hands-on with the Kuoe range, because I think once you get hands-on, you'll understand the brand. And I think you'll fall in love with the designs because they're incredibly well done. Thank goodness I get to keep this one after the review, because if this was just a lone piece, I would be buying one off the website. I have fallen in love with this watch. I mean, I just can't stop looking at it. The case silhouette, the dial design, the way it fits, I mean, it is just a masterpiece, at least for my taste. I have been struggling to find a compressor style diver for the collection, and I've just found it. If you like this one yourself, you'll of course find the Kuoe website linked below. Go and check out some of the other colours that they do, because I think you'll have a hard choice picking your favourite. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you. Catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.